Still thinking. It's still thinking it wants to go live. All right, we're live.
Oh.
Hey, y'all. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wealthy and Worthy.
Hello, hello.
Yes. Okay, let us know in the chat where you all are tuning in from. We had quite a few folks sign up on LinkedIn, so
Oh, nice.
I'm excited to see you all's faces and also excited to see you engaging because I know my LinkedIn ladies are busy. Okay, y'all got a lot happening. But we're here today, super excited. We got the crew here. And I want to, before we jump into our conversations, I always kind of level set and kind of just let everybody know where we are, what's happening, where are we in the conversation, right? And so today we're talking about clarity, right? So since the new year started, we've been talking about, rejecting all of the new year, new you crap, right? Like we are just right. We're not falling for that this time.
Same less.
And so today we're talking about clarity, but not the kind that comes from doing more or pushing harder or um, grinding in some, I've heard some people use that term, or forcing answers, right? We're talking about the kind of clarity that actually shows up when we ask better questions. So that is what we're going to be touching on today. All right. Because I think many high achieving women and many of the women that I coach have been taught that when things feel unclear, that is more effort, more,
Yes.
more discipline, maybe more self management or self regulation, right?
Yeah.
We're always, I think, eager as well to look inward to figure out, like, why is this not working the way that I want it to be? And so this conversation really invites you to think a little bit differently about it, in that the issue may not be effort at all. It actually may be that you're trying to solve a new level or a next level problem with an outdated question.
Okay.
I'm gonna just pause and let that sink in. Okay, so the problem may not be your effort. The problem may be that you have a next level or a new level problem that requires you to ask yourself new questions and to be honest about the answer. Right? That's what we're doing today. Okay, so take a deep breath, not because anything's wrong, but because it might be a lot, okay? It might be a lot. This new awareness, right, can sometimes be really overwhelming for folks. And so we want to invite you into this space to just breathe and be present, all right? So we're going to jump into the conversation today. And we also got a few questions from you all, the viewers. And so we're going to go through some of those today too. So drop us some questions in the chat if you're here live and you actually have questions that you want us to talk about or pose to the broader audience. We're happy to do that. Okay. So let me get my questions up because I saved them.
Very
Um,
nice. Very nice.
okay. So, this is a good one. Okay. So the first question is, when clarity feels elusive, what is usually happening just beneath the surface?
Resistance.
Say that one more time.
Resistance.
Let's talk about it.
Resistance. Yeah. I mean, my experiences. Yes. I mean, just this is not a call out. This is a call in, right?
Love that.
Come to the
Yes.
couch.
Yes.
Generally speaking, when clarity feels elusive, it tends to be because there is resistance. Oftentimes, when we're sitting down and we're asking ourselves clarity questions, like Dr. Tiana has said, we have to be willing to interface with the answers. And sometimes when the answers or the truths that exist become truths that they aren't as objective as we would like. So they don't have the level of concrete and finite and direct that we would want. They actually require us to look inward at our utmost desires and to look into our intuition, things that feel for a lot of people because they're used to being disconnected from those things, uncertain. We don't want to look at them. we don't want to hear those truths because they're not yes or no, and they're not they haven't come directly in as a download, that I know specifically came from whatever source I believe in. And so I'm not accepting of them. So resistance sometimes is why clarity is elusive.
Okay, y'all. What y'all think about that? What's coming up now? Okay, what's coming up, right? Is there resistance, right? Ask yourself honestly, are there parts of this new truth or reality that you're resisting and you aren't ready to face or sit with, right? And that's super important because when we resist the truth, we suffer. And that's in every scenario. So be thinking about that. Okay. I feel like that was a heavy intro. Woo!
Well, I feel like I have another part to that I can add also.
Let's do
because when clarity comes and I say I've been waiting on clarity to move, and I don't want to move because I'm afraid to move, because it's hard, it's going to cost me to move, right? Because it's going to shift things if I move, and might move people who I love dearly, I care about dearly, out of my space. I'm going to choose confusion, because at least with confusion, I don't have to do what I said I was going to do, which is move, right?
Yikes.
2026. If we're going to tell it, we might as well tell it all, right?
I mean, we telling it. All right. We're here.
So then I live safely in confusion.
In confusion. Yes. Okay. Safely and comfortably. Because it's what I know. Yes. Because it is what I know.
It's what I know, and it's where I'm safe, where I feel like I'm safe.
Yeah. Okay. So there's okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's the resistance of truth that's happening. There's also fear of, now what do I do now that I know the truth? I see the truth clearly and I can no longer hide from it. Now what? Right? There's that kind of fear of not knowing the next step or how to respond. I would say in my work, often because I'm working with career women around career pivots and wealth building, oftentimes for that population, when clarity is elusive, what I'm normally seeing happening underneath the surface is unclear expectations often, particularly as it relates to workplace and career. Oftentimes it's what I call mission creep, or which is when you have a specific role or function within your organization and somehow end up taking on another role, or taking on pieces of somebody else's function, right? Or maybe somebody leaves or is fired, and instead of them replacing that person, they find a way to disperse their responsibilities across the team, right? So then you end up with mission creep because it is not technically right within your job function. And I think sometimes employers can be very good at guilting employees as if they should take on these extra responsibilities without compensation. So I see that happen a lot more than I would care to, even talk about. But that causes a lot of overload. That causes a lot of confusion and ambiguity of like, well, I like my job, but maybe I don't, right? Like maybe I don't like it. I don't love it as much as I thought I loved it, right? And sometimes the clarity is not, the lack of clarity doesn't come because you don't like the job. It comes because there are other people kind of infringing upon your function and the level of effort that you're being compensated for. Yeah. That can be often a really big thing that happens under the surface. For sure.
I think mine is in alignment with what Jeannie was saying, but I'm about to take y'all to church a little bit this morning
Okay.
or this
Let's do it.
early afternoon. So in my devotion this morning, as I was praying, talking to God, doing my daily devotion, I am doing the Bible in a year, right? And so I'm still in Genesis. Genesis is pretty deep, but I'm on a part where Jacob is preparing to see his brother Esau, right? And he's very afraid and he's been avoiding it, right? And so, kind of like in alignment with what we're talking about, like avoiding clarity, because once clarity comes, we have to act, and it requires us to be brave and diligent in our path or whatever. And so, what ends up happening is Jacob is wrestling with God, pretty much, and not wrestling in a physical sense, but wrestling like we wrestle, like emotionally, fearfully, and all
Yeah.
those things. And so when you asked that question, my mind automatically went to my devotion this morning, because it's exactly what they were talking about, he's talking about, right? And so what ends up happening though, in the end, when he finally meets Esau, the interaction is nothing like what he feared, right? And so what that showed me in my devotion is that I'm allowed to observe without insecurity. I don't need to overperform in order to belong. What else? I don't need to judge myself in real time. Like, I think a lot of times we judge ourselves and we're so hard on ourselves to be this perfect thing. And it's like, yes, clarity is a great thing, but sometimes God does not give clarity until you've taken some steps in a certain direction, right? And so not being so hard on ourselves that we have to have everything figured out all the time, but also diligently seeking information and God, for me, and I know for you ladies, so that we're not like constantly in this fearful state and just stagnant. Yeah. So when you brought up that question, that's where my mind immediately went. Our tussle and battle and fight with God that we do all
Yeah.
the time. We don't feel like we have the clarity that we need to take the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good. That's so good. Okay, thanks for sharing that. Okay, now this next one is actually a question that I got from one of my clients. And I thought it was so good because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sure so many people have this question. So the
Okay.
question is, how do I know the difference between confusion and misalignment?
Confusion and misalignment.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you how it shows up in my work and what her and I actually talked about, right?
Okay.
So, how we ended up kind of discussing it, and I engaged with her in the question and in exploring the answer, right? Because just because I'm a coach does not mean that I give you answers. My job is to help you find the answers for yourself, right? And I am on the journey with you to help explore what those possible answers could be.
Mhm.
So the conversation that we had was really just around like first defining what area there was a lack of clarity that she felt. Where
Yeah.
was it? Right. And it was her, it was related to work.
Okay.
And so we were, just discussing it. And I think what we landed on was this scenario, right? There's a difference between being unclear because you don't have the competencies or the skill set to perform a job
Mhm.
Mhm.
versus being misaligned. And when I say misaligned, I'm saying where you're in a situation and you have frustration.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And for her, there was frustration in her 9 to 5 job because she really wanted to write and be a
Okay.
writer. And the job that she currently had was not being a writer. And so
Okay.
this kind of like pull that was happening because it was like, well, I'm trained and I'm skilled in this,
Mhm.
something still feels wrong. it still feels off, right? And so she called that confusion, right? She's like, I'm just unsure. Like, I don't know, if this is the job. I don't know if whatever. And yeah, it came down to the fact of like, oh, you actually are very good in this job. You're very skilled. You've upskilled and developed competency, but this is not what you really want to be doing. This is not at the heart, right, of what brings you energy, what makes you excited to show up and add value. And so that is what we determined was the misalignment, right? When you're doing things that completely go against who you are authentically and what you desire, there is going to be frustration. There's going to be a lack of clarity. There's going to be, right? You're going to feel confused, like you're in a fog. And it's not a bad thing. I think it actually invites a moment of reflection and a moment of seeking support, right? To find your answer to what is coming up for you, right? So those feelings, right, they don't get to dictate what we do, but they do inform, right, the strategy. And so I think it's an invitation to get curious about what's coming up for you. If you do feel like you're in a place where you're like, man, I just don't have clarity. I don't feel clear about the thing, right? So that is how it shows up for me and how it showed up for me recently.
So what was the two words? Was it confusion and misalignment?
How do you know the
I
difference?
The difference between being confused or being misaligned?
So I liken it to confusion is more mental for me, and misalignment is more internal. So like confusion, like if I have too many thoughts going on, too many opinions, too many options, too many voices and input, right? And I'm overthinking, I'm second guessing, I am again beating myself up, like all of those things, like
Yeah.
I feel like it's mentally noisy,
Mhm.
right? And then I feel like misalignment is more internal, like I feel it deeply, like there's this persistent like discomfort within me that just will not leave.
Mm.
And it's like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, perk up, wake up. It's not right. It's not in alignment with your purpose, with your goals, with your morals, with your, and I feel like I'm always needing more clarity and that won't go away. And so I just feel like there's a difference. Like misalignment is just much deeper than the confusion for me.
I got you.
Okay, so there's layers to it for you.
Right.
Yeah. I think I'd have to distill it like definition wise for me. It just makes it, I'm a little bit more cerebral at
Yep.
times. So when I think of confusion, I think I don't have enough data sets. I don't have enough data points. I don't have enough evidentiary support. I don't have enough objective in my space in order to get to clarity or to get to a space where I have mental stability or mind stability. So that's how I see confusion in that way. Misalignment to me is I know I have the data points, I understand them, and I'm
Right.
choosing my decision is in resistance or is in opposition is probably the better word, opposition to my value set, right? Because alignment is I know my values, I understand my values,
Right.
I know what they mean and what they are, I know how I want to be, how I want to show up. When I'm aligned, I am who I say I am in action, in word, all of that stuff, right? When I am misaligned, I know because I have all the data points to tell me that I'm not who I say I am, that I'm not doing what I said I would do, right? And so that's how I distinguish the two. One is there isn't the data set. I don't have the objective truth. I don't have what I need in order to make decisions. So I'm sort of walking around confused, disoriented, discombobulated, where the other is I do have all of it. I just know that I'm acting outside of it. And that's essentially what you came to, right? Tiana's like, this is a situation of misalignment. You know what to do. You're a writer. Go be a writer.
So would you say confusion asks for clarity and misalignment asks more for honesty?
I absolutely would say that.
I think
I
that's I think yeah. I think it's a little that's a call-in for sure.
I know.
But it's like,
it is a calling,
yeah,
yeah.
confusion definitely asks for clarity and
Yeah.
misalignment for me. Yeah, it does. It is a calling of honesty, but it's also a calling of guided intentional action. There's an intentionality to
Mm, mhm,
um alignment, right? So yeah, I'm with you there. I like
mm.
that.
Oh, that was good. That was a
Yeah.
beautiful
That was
synopsis.
look, come on, girls, ladies, do it. Okay.
Let her cook.
Let her cook.
Okay. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, let's see. The next question is, what questions should women be asking instead of, "Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me?"
Oh, anything other than that. That was
And I'm
I
saying this, right,
like a
because
visceral response to that.
sometimes
Yeah,
we may not say it out loud,
absolutely.
but we may be thinking it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally guilty of that. Like, if, like, something happened something actually happened recently. I, like, bought a launch,
Oh.
and I, have a team to help me with those things, and for some reason, I thought I could do it myself. And and after it didn't go the way that I expected, I literally in my head was like, "Oh my gosh, Tiana, what is wrong with you? Like, you know better. And so, like, I think that that is like, I just think it's a normal thing, right? That happens sometimes when
Yeah,
you have high expectations of yourself, and want to show up in a way that is
of
Mhm.
course.
excellent and polished. And so, yes,
Fascinating.
what other questions can we
You're
ask?
funny because you just answered the question in
Right.
your anecdote right there. You said, "I'm asking myself what's wrong with
Right.
me." Meanwhile, you're like, actually, hey, what is it in me that sometimes chooses the wrong approach when I know the right approach? When I know how to, if I know how to do this, what is it in me that's resisting whatever it is that I need? I personally think women rather than and any person but women
Mhm,
especially rather than asking what's wrong with me or what am I doing or what's asked in the moment, what is it that I need, what is it that I
mm,
need right now in this moment to take my next right step. We can
love
be extremely critical like in so many ways, and I think women need to do more questioning that offers them the vantage point that whatever it is that they're experiencing is right, not is wrong. Like I wake up
Right.
sometimes in just such disarray and I'm looking for I know something's wrong. I just know that something's wrong. Something is afoot because I'm so anxious and there's just no way that I'm gonna be anxious at my baseline. Meanwhile, I spend so much time anxious at baseline. It's just, any little thing is off and anxious. It's a part of yourself that at times you need to accept as a part of yourself as a signal. My body signals huge all the time. It's like one thing is moved and out of place, my body's signaling, Jeannie, something's going on, something's going on.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. My
Yeah.
body's just sensitive and signals and feels things
Right.
that as they're developing very quickly versus the
Mhm,
person who it takes a while for their body to start signaling to them, right? They can
mhm.
be super calm and there's a fire 2 doors down. I
Mhm.
smelled that fire last week. Like, so my body's like, whoa, whoa, what's happening?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
you've got to be mindful about trying to not labeling yourself as wrong, but instilling in yourself and asking those questions that tell you that you are right about what your experience is right now, what your feelings are right now. So the
Mhm,
questions, when they are ones that are defensive to you, protective of you, when they sound more like something's going on for me right now, what
Mhm.
is it that I need? Or if I know the right answer, what is keeping me from acting inside of the right answer, from moving myself forward?
Right.
That's the kind of questions I want women to be asking themselves.
love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I just recently just made this agreement with myself that whenever I start feeling like that insecurity starting to creep in, that I so fight with, I feel like every day. It's a constant fight. The question I'm starting to ask myself is, what is it in this moment, in this time where that question in my head has popped up? What is it that I'm supposed to learn about myself?
Ooh,
in this particular moment, right?
That's a
So
great
love
one.
that.
it makes you think,
Love that.
where did this come from? Why is it here? Is the source credible? If not, let's throw it out and let's get a new source and let's build on that. And so it's a constant work. And I feel like we think that we arrive at some moment, and you never do. There is no arrival place.
Right,
It's
right.
a constant work. And so, yeah, so that's the question I ask myself in this moment where this insecurity or thing has popped up. What am I supposed to learn about myself?
That's beautiful.
Period.
Love
That's
that.
beautiful.
Love that.
Okay, ladies. So y'all got some good questions, all right? Don't be like me. Don't be asking what's wrong, okay?
Nothing's wrong.
Don't
The
be like
answer is
all of
always
us, because we
nothing.
all do
Right?
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the last question to kind of wrap us up, y'all. So, the last question is, what happens when women are expected to adapt endlessly
Mm.
instead of actually having systems that adapt or grow with them?
Ooh.
Say that one more time.
What happens when women are expected to adapt endlessly instead of actually having the systems adapt or change or grow with them?
Mhm.
We end up becoming someone that we're not.
Mhm.
We end up becoming an imitation of ourselves or of someone else's image. Like, um, I think about how we're always looking outward. And I think many women can say that they do this, they compare
Yeah.
themselves, whether if it's in motherhood, whether if it's in marriage or business or whatever. There's always someone doing something better than you, or ahead of you, or you feel like you should be here, or you're striving to be here and quite haven't quite obtained it. And I think that when we have these things that kind of put us in this box of what it is we're supposed to be or what direction we're supposed to go, it does us a disservice, and we end up not being who we are, pretty much designed to be, an individual, perfectly unique in our ways and how we approach and show up in the world. And
Mhm.
so, I think that life, our experiences, who we're connected with, all those things, our belief systems, all those things constantly evolve,
Mhm.
constantly push us in different directions in life. And if we're so rigid where we take this ideal of what it is that, society or whomever says we're supposed to be, then we totally miss it.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally miss ourselves.
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that was
Absolutely. I mean, I think you said that so beautifully. I'm gonna come with some words, some more psychological words.
come
I'm gonna come with
on.
mental health words. They're gonna hurt some
Do it.
people out here. It might
Come
shake you
on.
up. Trigger warning.
Trigger
Okay.
warning.
When we have that experience, what happens is trauma.
Mm,
Trauma is what happens.
mm,
When you are consistently expected to adapt, right? Because you grew up in a household, or you're inside of a relationship, or you're inside of a frame of learning, or a school, or a societal space where you are consistently thrown into, and then you start at times, because it's been modeled for you,
mm,
choosing to be in spaces where you are the person consistently expected to change, to adapt to your scenarios. It is traumatic.
mm.
Imagine asking a seed to keep changing what it is to fit the earth.
Ooh,
Trauma is what
that is
happens.
so good.
Hypervigilance is what happens. Pain is what happens.
Mhm,
Resentment is what happens. And
mhm,
absolutely, what Talana said so, you said it so eloquently and so beautifully. You
mm,
said it's this idea of us as people, as human beings, in this space constantly where we can't be who we're meant to be. We're
yeah.
beautifully and wonderfully individual, unique, so well made. I didn't say it in all your beautiful words. They were so beautiful. I can't do
Yeah.
them. But absolutely, we cannot be that. We cannot. And our
Mhm.
gifts and all of our loveliness and our light that's supposed to shine in a specific kind of way, it just it takes a while. You first have to like come back to that. You imagine like you spend all your life weaving around like who actually in all like all you were made to be, that you had everything you needed because you were born the seed, and the seed has everything it needs. An apple tree is going to be an apple tree. Whether it
Yeah.
blooms or it doesn't, it's an apple tree.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
going to be that. You imagine you spend your life wandering away from that, and then you got to come back to it, back to center first, and then bloom.
Yes. So
Mhm.
Jeannie, so when you say that, it makes me think and ponder on all the traumatic moments in my life, right? And when I think back on my traumatic moments, I realize that within that circle of that trauma, it was always somebody else's ideals, someone else's opinions
Mhm.
surrounding it. It was
Yep.
never like me in my purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
that
that's the
is so
danger.
good.
That's the greatest danger of trauma,
Yes,
is that it's
yes.
pushing you outside of, like, and it's the opportunity, right? We don't necessarily,
Mhm.
this is how I've come to learn it now that I'm older and I can look on upon it, right? But as a child, you can't look on upon it. You
Right.
think the resistance that I'm experiencing from people, the hurt that I'm experiencing people, the life that I'm in right now is because they don't love me, they don't want me as I am is not correct. Who I am isn't it.
Mhm.
And
Right.
it as a whole, whatever is happening for me in these moments, like it isn't great, and I have to, it's me, it's because of me, it's always because of me. Where you
Right.
grow older and you start to realize, wait a minute, there are other players here with their own ways of being, right? My mom is just another human, my dad is just another human, my uncles are just other humans, like living a life with their own stuff that has nothing to do with me. And you
Mhm.
can take the situations that have happened and say, these were opportunities. Now that I can decipher them, now that I have the language, now that I have the understanding, I get to see them as opportunities to grow closer to who I am at my core.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
lens I'm looking at now is the lens of that question that you're asking yourself. What in this moment am I learning about me from what I experienced, how I experienced it, what my eyes at that young age did versus what my eyes at the teenage years did versus what my eyes as an adult is doing now? What am I learning about who core Jeannie is?
Mhm.
And then feeding that, fueling that. And that's the bloom. It's tough because, like, trauma can stifle you, but it can also bloom you when you interpret it well and you
Yeah.
understand what's at your center, you
Yeah.
know?
So
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. And I think for those who are experiencing the trauma, we're gonna put language to it, of constantly having to adapt in a work scenario,
Mhm.
that is, I think, something that we don't discuss enough, actually. Of, how do we, sorry guys,
No, take your time. It's okay.
I'm
We're human.
recording in a hotel room and they're calling me for some reason.
Traveling for business, work.
Um, yeah, I'm working, okay. But I think when I see that, right, that constant adapting and the systems are not adapting for you or growing with you, that is when, honestly, that's when women come to work with me, right? It's that inflection point of like, I am tired of being a chameleon because they keep throwing these challenges at me and expecting me to walk this tightrope while juggling all of these things, right? It's the invisible labor, like I mentioned earlier, of adding more work to my assignment that does not belong to me actually, and not wanting to compensate, right? It's the constant um disengagement, right? Where
Mhm.
you're constantly feeling like you don't belong. And and there are these messages that are sent. And so for me, when I'm working with clients, and even for myself in my own personal experience, when I realized that I was in a job that I had to consistently shape shift for,
Mhm.
I realized that wasn't my job.
Mhm.
Just gonna pause and let that sink for a second, okay? Because I think we sometimes attach our identities to our jobs, and we believe that we cannot express our genius and the fullness of who we are if we are outside of that job, whatever that job is. But one of the best parts of my work in coaching women is being able to teach, specifically because I'm a PhD, other
Mhm.
people is that you can still flourish outside of academia. You don't have to stay in academia because you have a doctorate and because you have done it or used to do it or whatever, right? Like
Right.
there are still ways that you can create systems that support you, and you can just accept the truth that those systems, particularly the ivory towers, are not meant or intended. They have no intention on that shaping or shapeshifting to accommodate your needs. Like that's just how they're established, right? And so again,
Right.
this is the truth. You suffer, and the truth of it is it's very exploitive, and that is just my experience. That is many experiences of my colleagues of color who work in academia. That is just what it is, right? And so for me, it was a choice of like, I'm not going to sit here and stress myself out over a system that has no intentions on shaping around what I need, right? So I'm going to do it for myself because this no longer works, right? No judgment, but a clear assessment of what is actually happening and who is doing all of the adapting.
Right.
And if it ends up being you, then you might need to do a little more inventory. And that can be true in any scenario, not just your job. If you are
Yes.
the only one always adapting in your relationships, in your romantic, whatever, like pause and ask for your help, okay?
Right.
Because it's just a signal to you, right? That it's not working.
Yeah.
And if you continue to expose yourself to it, as Jeannie mentioned, it leads to trauma.
Mm. Majorly.
Yes.
And okay, because I'm a researcher, right? We always have to define the thing, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about trauma, right? I know it's like a sexy word right
Good
now in
word.
our
Yeah.
current age and for our age demographic.
Yeah.
But for me, when I'm saying trauma, I'm talking about something that is TOO. It's too much, it's too long, it's too painful. Like it takes you outside of your capacity to cope.
Right.
That is what I mean when I'm talking about trauma and when I say trauma. Now, me as a therapist, she can share the therapeutic definition,
Absolutely.
Because you
but
know she has it. We got it.
that is my personal definition of
Mhm.
trauma. And anything that does that for me, like puts me outside of my capacity to cope,
Right.
has to be eliminated.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it stretches you, yes, and that's a good thing. But chronic stress, let me be very clear. Chronic stress is not to be managed. It is to be eliminated. Period.
Come on. Yes.
It's not to
Yes.
be managed. So if you're experiencing it, just cut the games. Like we're
Can
not
you
managed.
define the difference between stress that's just here for a moment and chronic stress?
Absolutely.
Just so they
I'll
know the
give you
difference.
my example, okay? So when I decided to leave my job, okay,
Yeah.
um, regular stress, right? The day-to-day stress was like if a deadline was approaching for a project, right? And my team was just, Dr. Rogers, we need help. We need to make sure it's right. That was like an intermittent, right? It lasts maybe a week, maybe a couple weeks at most, right?
Abbreviated.
Yeah, it's very truncated. You have a beginning and an end. Clearly, you can see it, right? Chronic stress in that specific role for me was having a CEO that did not care about people
Mm.
and left us completely out to dry.
Mm.
People were, just behaving unkind, and just not standing up and
Yeah.
not standing for anything really, right? Like not
Yeah.
necessarily defending the staff, but just not having a moral compass of like this is how we operate as an organization and this is how we don't operate. Um, and so when that happened, I thought, nobody's got my back. Like I'm putting myself out here managing teams, leading projects, interfacing with big clients, closing big deals, and nobody has my back. If that's the case, then I might as well do this on my own and really have no one have my back but me. Like, right? Like that I mean,
For
that was
real. For
that
real.
was my reality. Like if I'm out here working for you and I still have to defend myself, then I might as well work for myself and defend myself. Like
Mm.
that's pretty much how I reconciled that, right? But that was chronic stress because every single time I went into a scenario, I did not know what to expect. And I always had to have my head on a swivel for how to manage the problems that would come up because the people
Right.
who were getting paid to solve those problems were not showing up.
Mm.
And that's a big issue in a lot of workplaces that people don't want to talk about. You're
I was
getting
gonna say it's very common.
Yes, and it was things that were way beyond my pay grade, right? And then you ask for a raise, and then they're looking at you like they don't have a budget. I
Right.
don't have a budget either, and I'm out of here. Like, right? You have to. I mean, you just have to know. I think, and be very clear
That's
about
right.
your non-negotiables. You know, and
Absolutely.
chronic stress. Like, as a breast cancer survivor, it wasn't something that I was willing to even play around with. It was just like, no, it's a no. It's a no, dog. Like, I'm just not gonna do it. And I had to live with the consequences of making those decisions, right? And I didn't do it in haste. I did it in wisdom. You know, I used wisdom to strategically leave academia, but there's still things about, you know, those scenarios in a workplace that slowly kill you.
Yeah.
There's no real way to
Figuratively
say it.
and literally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely. Let's be clear.
And then when you die, they'll
They
post
replace
your
you.
job before your
Yeah.
funeral. So make sure that you're very clear if you're going to deal with it, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just the reality of how capitalism works. Like
Absolutely.
that is the world that we live in, being in America, right? We are a capitalist society, and so those things, profit over people, is always going to be something that we have to contend with.
Absolutely.
But
And push our
especially as Black women, we have to figure out how we can engage and if we want to engage.
Exactly. And certainly, I think
Yeah.
also be mindful about doing the work so that we're not perpetuating the same. So that when we see people, we're not just looking for numbers. Yes, we are looking for compensation, but we are also looking at people and understanding, hey, we could never match your value, but I can get you what you need to live, and I can get you what you need to thrive. And I'm looking to match that because you're not just a cog in a wheel to
I
me.
love that. I always tell my staff that, right? I can never pay you what you're worth, but I can pay you what's worth your time, right? And that is how I pay my teams. I pay my teams well intentionally because that matters, and you demonstrate value in things that you invest in, and your money is one of the biggest things you do to show that. So,
Amen. That
yeah.
money, time, knowledge, boy. Money, time,
Come on, yeah.
Anything you put that into, is it worth it or isn't it?
Okay, let's Penny. Okay, let's see, Penny. I see you, Penny girl. Let me put you on the thing so we was supposed to wrap up, but she shared something. Okay, so she said literally, I was an HR manager passed due to a car accident. He was driving in frosty weather trying to get to work, and before his funeral, I was asked to post his position. Come on, Penny, say it ain't so.
I'm sorry. That's awful to witness.
No, but this is life. And if listen, if COVID didn't teach us anything, if society today with the instability of the workforce has not taught us anything, like you guys, if you do not value yourself, you cannot expect anyone outwardly to do it for you. Like it's non-existent, right? And that's how you have to approach it. I'm not saying people don't care about you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, as a culture, societal wise, like this is the precedence, like this is what has been set. And you either have to learn how to live within it, or you have to be like, deuces, I'm out, I'm going to create it for myself. Either way is okay. The question is, which one do you thrive better in? Which environment?
What
And
can you
you have to get the data. Like you said, you have to use wisdom, and you have to do all those things to ensure that you're making the right decision. But you have to figure that out for yourself, because it's not only you that's impacted, your family's impacted, the people you love are impacted, the people that you impact are impacted, you know, and so yeah, just being wise, like you said, and using wisdom. Yeah.
Woo.
And your sources.
I love that.
Love that.
Yes,
Sources,
yes.
please check your
Being
sources.
wise and using check your sources, having support, guys. It's so important. Okay. So we're wrapping up because we got way overtime today. Every time we try, you guys, we never make 30 minutes.
We get close.
But
Sometimes we
Conversation
get
is too
close.
good, but it's such good
it's so good.
quality information, to walk away with. So
It
yeah,
is. It is.
I'm sure
So
they appreciate it.
yes, they better tell us in the chat if you tell us in
You
the comments.
appreciate us, chat.
All right, y'all. So we're wrapping up today's discussion, which was focused on how do we basically get clarity, right? And understanding that clarity does not come from pushing harder, right? So we started this year with New Year, same you, better boundaries. And we were talking about just rejecting the pressure to always reinvent ourselves and feel like we have to fix ourselves. And so focus of that initial conversation that we had on our first Wealthy and Worthy Wednesday back was us being able to take a moment to honor what actually carried us through the last season. Because for many of us, me double-handed, 2025 was brutal,
Yes.
right? It was rough. And we named, those boundaries that were necessary, not just for other people, but for ourselves. How do we protect ourselves? How do we protect our time, our energy, our resources, our peace, right? And so that's what we wanted to hone in on. What worked well, and how can we refine those things, not start over? Okay. That was how we started this conversation this year. Last week's Wealthy and Worthy Live, we covered the fact that you don't need more discipline. You need better containers or better, right? And so we challenge the belief that many high achieving women have that if something isn't working, the answer must be, I gotta be more disciplined. I gotta, self-correct, right? We talked about the issue not being inconsistency or a lack of motivation, but the issue is being unsupported. And so we invited you all to think about, right? What does community look like for you? What is structure? What are safe containers or safe spaces that you can be a part of, that you can seek out and join to help you enforce those boundaries that you've set for yourself, right? And then this week, we kind of continued the conversation where we said, okay, now that I have the clarity, right? I need to ask some better questions of myself, right? What else do I need to be considering? What other information, as Jeannie said, what other data, right? And so we wanted to be able to have you have a space and a time to be able to reflect on those things without being self-critical or self-blaming, right? So with that, right, those conversations have really just kind of led us to double down on the fact that this is not about fixing you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, right? So there's no fixing. It's really focused on how do we refine, how do we strengthen, how do we redesign our lives, our systems, our work, whatever, so that they match who we are authentically, as Luana mentioned, beautifully and uniquely created, right? So next week, we're going to continue the conversation and we are going to help you answer the question of, now that I see the truth clearly, how do I move forward without overcorrecting? No, you type A women will want to jump right on it and do the thing on thing, right? And sometimes the intensity of that can be not as beneficial. So we're going to help talk about, right? How do we move forward with intention without overcorrecting? And also, how do I act on this newfound clarity without blowing up my spot? Right? I have a lot of clients, right, who their main concern is like, I don't want to quit my job. I don't want to, and it's like, you don't have to, that's part of the nobody said you had to do that. Nobody said you had to quit anything, right?
No.
But we want you to pause and start being thoughtful about how these things are impacting you, how they're
Mhm.
showing up in your world, and invite you to assess honestly, sit with the truth honestly, and then adjust accordingly so that you can live a life, as you mentioned, of intention, so that you can have ultimately the impact that you want to have in the world, which is really, really hard to do if you're burned out, if you're overwhelmed, if you're self critical, and you're in a job that you hate. It's really difficult to do.
Yeah.
So that is really the heart of these discussions. That's the heart of us kind of starting the new year off with you all and just wanting to invite you all into these spaces, into more spaces. We are still working on creating spaces for you all to join. And so we are doing Wealthy and Worthy this year in person at the end of the summer, and we'll be sharing those dates in the coming months. And yeah, we're just excited to share our wisdom with you all and invite you into more ease and more joy because you deserve it. So and you are wealthy and worthy of it. So
Yes.
we are going to just continue to push that message and yeah, drop us a note in the comment and let us know, what came up for you. Maybe let us know like what questions you're asking or you're still sitting with, because
Mhm.
sometimes when you have these new pieces of information dropped on you, they can be overwhelming and they may take a minute to
Absolutely.
kind of absorb and sit with. So if it comes up later, let us know. We're happy to engage in conversation with you. And if there's topics that you all want us to cover each week on Wednesdays, make sure you reach out and let us know because we want to hear from y'all. So that's all we got this week. So we'll see y'all
Thank you
again
all. Thanks
next
for joining
Wednesday.
us.
So
Same
good.
place,
Bye.
same time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.